Hello adventurers and welcome to another volume of the Bestiary, a growing archive record and index of everything you'll need to know about the creatures of fantasy. This volume will dive into the beasts that terrorize the mortal world and use our own buildings and homes as their hiding spots. Of course I speak of the stone-skinned terrors of the skies, Gargoyles. The origins of Gargoyles are very ancient and date back to some of the earliest architect of Egypt and beyond. Gargoyles were used to spice up drains and gutters to make them more decorative, so once the water reached the end of one of them, it would look like it would be coming out of a beast's mouth. The term originates from the French word gargoyle, which in English just means throat, otherwise known as a gullet, which of course is reflected in gargoyles' elongated necks. There's also a legend that goes along with gargoyles that has been attached to them since the middle of the 7th century. The story tells of a saint who captured a dragon named Gargoyle, same word as before, and they bring the dragon back to France, where it is burned alive. Now, strangely enough, the dragon's neck and head would not burn, so the saint decided they should mount the dragon's neck and head onto a church to ward off evil spirits. The legend and mythos of this gargoyle story led to them taking on a protector role and keeping them very popular on churches and buildings into the 18th century. Now, I want you to throw all that stuff about them being protectors out of the water because modern gargoyles are huge evil assholes. In almost all video games, movies, and tabletops, gargoyles are chaotic creatures who take great pleasure and purpose in the hunting and torture of intelligent beings. This is not because they need to eat or anything. In fact, gargoyles need to eat so rarely that it's an urban legend that they never need to eat at all. Instead, they do this out of pure malicious purposes, going as far as to stalk and toy with victims for hours or days before violently killing them. A gargoyle's favorite method of murder seems to be dropping someone from high in the sky into a bunch of ideally very pointy rocks. Gargoyles take great pleasure in the kills that they make and will compare and boast about them to other gargoyles. Or if no one else is around, they'll just whisper into the trophy they take from their latest victim, like an ear or a finger. Now, a gargoyle's most well-known feature is their stone skin, which is great at adapting to any environment. It's important to note that a gargoyle is not necessarily made of stone, but they have more of a stone exoskeleton that just sort of protects their squishy bits from the outside world. Their stone skin also will slowly over time start to look like wherever they're living, so a city, a lava field, underwater, almost anywhere you can imagine you could potentially find a gargoyle. This camouflage makes them very hard to detect and their rampages can be left unchecked for who knows how long. The life of a gargoyle is one of no rules, usually just sitting atop of the food chain of wherever they live, and their extremely durable bodies lead some to believe that they could potentially be immortal unless their bodies are destroyed. Gargoyles do have one key threat, however, their own kind. Most choose to live alone, but when gargoyles do come together, things go sour fast. Any tribe is beyond unstable, with inner turmoil from the get-go. Tribe leaders are constantly challenged by others, and the loser is almost always killed. This tribal structure where the strongest survives and rules leads to gargoyles having no real society of their own, and they just sort of are more like animals than anything else. Now, in terms of how modern gargoyles came into existence, will vary on whatever fiction that you're looking at. There seem to be two common origins though. In some cases, they're just a type of creature born naturally into the world, like in D&D or in Gargoyles. Then there are other works of fiction which parallel them to be more of a flying construct, statues brought to life by the power of magic, and are pretty much just flying golems. Finally, I know we've talked a lot about evil gargoyles, but there are still a handful who, like the creatures in the folklore, are still noble protectors. The biggest example is the Gargoyles TV show from the 90s, which is probably the most popular versions of the creatures ever created. The main character Goliath and his band of gargoyles awaken in modern New York after being cursed for 1,000 years of slumber, where they protect the city from ancient evils. Also Galio from League of Legends, who's a pretty cool tank hero with the ability to protect and shield his allies. Well, that's another volume of the Bestiary in a bag. If you like this video, check out my other videos in the series. The last one we talked about undead liches. Or if you want to see me talk about a fantasy movie, check out my discussion on the magic sword from 1962. It's an old diamond in the rough, if you will. So go ahead and check those out, and until next time, adventurer, safe travels.